are three particles, too small for your eyes to see, but one man says they are a big clue in the unsolved case of D.B. Cooper. The particles come from a necktie D.B. Cooper wore when he hijacked a Northwest passenger jet more than 50 years ago.
Chris Ingalls reports on the bold claim by a citizen sleuth who's been trying to solve the mystery and the science that backs him up.
It was still the beginning of the jet age. This was designed to be the Navy's first supersonic jet. This is the very first F-8 Crusader ever flown.
The Museum of Flight pays tribute to the dawn of jet-powered aviation.
Going higher, faster, further. That was kind of the mantra of the military.
With this 1955 Crusader fighter plane.
It's a very simple design, very beautiful and streamlined.
Museum spokesperson Ted Hutter says instead of aluminum, aeronautical engineers of the day used a little-known high-tech metal in jets, shown in the Crusader's design schematics, titanium.
Right on the outside right here, this is all titanium.
The Pennsylvania company that manufactured the titanium for the Crusader, Remcrew, is suddenly a new lead in a decades-old aviation mystery.
I believe that we have identified not only the company where D.B. Cooper came from, but also the specific division within the company that D.B. Cooper came from.
Eric Eulis of Arizona has been hunting the skyjacker known as D.B. Cooper for 14 years.
I'm what you would call a private researcher investigator in the D.B. Cooper case.
Eulis's new evidence comes from something the hijacker left behind on seat 18E of the Boeing 727 before he jumped from the plane's rear door with parachutes and $200,000 ransom from the FBI. The clues are three microscopic particles taken from D.B. Cooper's clip-on tie, recovered right after the 1971 skyjacking from SeaTac Airport.
I have isolated three very specific titanium antimony particles.
Lab analysis shows three particles of an alloy on Cooper's tie, titanium mixed with another earth element called antimony. Eulis discovered this 1957 document showing the government granted a patent for a titanium antimony alloy to Remcrew, which manufactured cutting-edge aerospace metals, like those used on the Crusader fighting jet.
I've been looking for something that I would call tantamount to commercial DNA. The idea being that just as human DNA points to a specific individual, commercial DNA points to a specific company.
Eulis says the titanium antimony alloy on Cooper's tie links him directly to Remcrew. The idea that D.B. Cooper may have been tied to the aerospace industry is not new.
These things, I'm going to name some of them: cerium, yttrium, and strontium sulfide.
We broke the story when amateur scientist Tom Kay first discovered titanium on Cooper's tie after the FBI invited him to analyze evidence in the cold case. Kay's team lifted more than 100,000 particles from Cooper's necktie, including some that were very rare in 1971, except in places like Boeing facilities and other aerospace manufacturing plants.
What does that tell you about Cooper?
The tie went with him into these manufacturing environments for sure, so he was not one of the people running the machines. He was either an engineer or a manager in one of these plants.
Eulis is the first to use Kay's data to trace the origin of the titanium antimony to Remcrew, a company that could have brought Cooper here to the Northwest.
They would actually work with the engineers at Boeing on the assembly floor. So these guys were actually on the floor, in and around the aircraft in the 1960s.
Furthermore, Eulis says Remcrew never sold titanium antimony. Perhaps the experimental alloy proved unsuitable for aviation use. So, he says the particles on Cooper's tie could only have come from someone inside the Pennsylvania company.
Has this led you to a specific suspect who could have been D.B. Cooper?
Yes, it has led to a specific person that may well have been D.B. Cooper that I'm looking into that appears to check several of the boxes. I'm not releasing the person's name publicly for obvious reasons, but I'm going to continue to look into him.
Posing with DB is a popular attraction at the Museum of Flight. Just like the statue, Cooper and his secrets are standing tall for now, a 50-year history of dead ends and cold clues that have not deterred one citizen sleuth.
I am absolutely convinced that I do have D.B. Cooper's name in my possession.
So he's confident, but I will say that in my more than 25 years of covering this story, I've heard several people say that. So we'll be following up with Eric Eulis to see how far his theory travels after all of this. So REM Crew no longer exists. Its assets were sold to other companies over the decades. Eulis has been in touch with current owners of those companies to see if they have anything that's helpful after all these years.
So, as you said, you've covered this for years and years, but could he be onto something?
You know, Joyce, I'd have to say he could be, but I think it's a long shot. I mean, remember, there were more than 100,000 particles identified on that tie with an electron microscope, and these are only 3 particles. So did the wind blow them on the ties, the contamination from the 50 years it's been in FBI hands? We know that other evidence in this case has been mismanaged. Or is the tie even Cooper's? Did someone else leave it on his seat? Keep in mind that the FBI has closed this case. It closed it unsolved 5 years ago. So it's up to citizens like Eric Eulis if anyone's going to solve this thing.
At least he hasn't given up.
No,
since
he's
it's
very
unsolved.
confident and he's working hard. And I know there's going to be a follow-up story here. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the guy finds.
Okay, so are we.
Okay.
So are we. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.